Well, if there's one thing that's clear, it's that Donald Trump wants his base to feel like he's on the job, swiftly fulfilling his campaign promises. And none of those promises was more salivated over by his voters than a crackdown on immigration, which explains Trump making a literal show out of the immigration-related executive orders he signed on his first day in office at this weird walk around the stadium consolation prize parade thing. The flurry of executive action on the border came despite a marked decline in the number of people crossing without authorization. Trump's latest actions include a call to deploy the military to the border, halting all refugee admissions into the United States, denying public benefits to undocumented immigrants, and putting an end to birthright citizenship, which is guaranteed by the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, so not reversible with an executive order. It's worth reminding that the 14th Amendment was ratified in 1868 and overturned the Dred Scott decision that denied Black Americans the rights and protections of U.S. citizenship, meaning that by trying to undo parts of it, Trump is not only trying to subvert the Constitution, he's once again wielding U.S. citizenship as a way to shape and uphold racial hierarchy. That blatant and historic form of racism is quickly meeting a growing mountain of lawsuits, with attorneys general from Democratic states, along with the ACLU, arguing that it's not only unconstitutional, but a repudiation of American values that would create a permanent subclass of people born in the U.S. who are nonetheless denied full rights as Americans. Joining me now is one of those attorneys general, Colorado's Phil Weiser. And General Weiser, please explain your lawsuit against this attempt to undo birthright citizenship.
Joy, you started this off on exactly the right note. After the Dred Scott decision came down, Abraham Lincoln called it an abomination, called it undermining core values that the Declaration of Independence calls for and that decency and justice call for. Here's the rule in the 14th Amendment. Everyone born here is a citizen, period, full stop. The idea that a president would seek to undermine the Constitution with an executive order is an assault on the basic idea that we live under the rule of law. We have rules for how we change our Constitution, and it's not the president signing an executive order. This president is going to lose in court because the 14th Amendment is clear. If you're born here, you're a citizen, and that's been up to the Supreme Court twice. Maybe it'll be a third time. I'm confident we're going to win.
So here's where my confidence is less strong than yours. The 14th Amendment also has an article, Article 3, that says if someone engages in insurrection, they are not eligible to be president of the United States. John Roberts and his friends, Leonard Leo's appointees on the Supreme Court, deemed that Article 3 is inoperative when it comes to one man, Donald Trump. They essentially negated Colorado's attempt to declare him an insurrectionist. So the Supreme Court doesn't seem to be that hot on the 14th Amendment. They don't seem to fully believe in it. So why would you believe that Alito, Roberts, Clarence Thomas and company won't just treat the birthright citizenship clause in the 14th Amendment the same way they treated Article 3?
I don't see an escape hatch here. This 14th Amendment, Section 1, has been interpreted by the Supreme Court twice already, and the court was clear in its ruling. And it's important to recognize that not just Dred Scott and Black Americans, but Asian Americans in the Wong Kim case had a similar basic point. If you're born here, you're welcomed here, you're a citizen. And that is crucial for us to uphold. The stakes here are high. There are a lot of people in Colorado, in other states, whose basic rights are now going to be determined by this lawsuit. I believe when it comes to the plain text of the 14th Amendment, this Supreme Court will not find an escape hatch. Instead, they will find the president violated the law. They did find that in the first Trump administration in numerous cases we brought, including one involving the census, another one involving the Dreamers. This case, too, is one we're going to be able to win. And again, I don't see justices finding any way around the basic text of the 14th Amendment.
I hope you're right. Now, let's talk about the pragmatic impact of the things that Donald Trump has done. The app, which allows people to proceed with their asylum cases. I mean, we've seen some really tragic and horrifying stories of people finding out while they're in line trying to complete their applications for citizenship. What's going to be the practical effect on Colorado, on your state, of these executive actions?
what really hurts me, Joy, we talked about this before, Colorado and Aurora in particular are communities that are so welcoming and inclusive that we care about one another. And the amount of fear right now, because people are worried about what's going to happen to them, is going to cause real harm. There's a way in which the rules of law work in the U.S. You have legal processes, and whether it's an application like the scenario you did, or the Dreamers, or someone applying for asylum, those processes go through their entire course. You follow what lawyers call due process. But the idea that instead of allowing those processes to come to their conclusion, we're going to have this indiscriminate fear campaign, take people, whatever they are in the process, and not give them due process, instead deport them, that's un-American, it's unfair, it's illegal, and if there are any attempts to do that, we're going to stop it. We're going to stand up for people and the American way, which is we treat everybody legally and fairly.
Is Colorado prepared to stand up to Donald Trump if he attempts to put military troops into Colorado or do some other sort of violent means of kicking in doors and sweeping for undocumented immigrants in the state?
Absolutely. There are rules about when the military is able to engage in any form of domestic enforcement. And those rules require there to be some type of national emergency. That's not the case here. We are fine in Colorado. We don't need or want the military coming in here to do immigration enforcement. And what's so tragic, Joy, is there are people who've gone through the entire process who are eligible for deportation. That's where it would make sense to actually deport people who've gone through the process, who are eligible, who know that their application is denied. But to go ahead for people who are dreamers, who are here and are following our laws, and there's no reason to deport them just to scare people, it's wrong, it's hurtful, and you're right. I will stand up to do all I can to protect our legal processes and the fair treatment of immigrants.
Well, I will say my mother went through the immigration process and became a citizen in the great state of Colorado and was very proud. I was very proud to live there for the first, for 15 of the first 17 years of her life after we left Brooklyn. But so long live, and we love Colorado. So thank you all for fighting for the vulnerable there. Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser, thank you so much.